All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is panel time. It's also time for you to call in because this is America Talks Live. And as I said earlier, I'm Steve Malzberg. You are America. I like that. 877 Newsmax, 877-639-7629. And on the panel today, Brent Budowsky, writer for The Hill, former aide to Senator Lloyd Bentsen, and Jim Hoft, founder of thegatewaypundit.com, conservative blogger and investigative reporter. Gentlemen, welcome back to both of you, two men who I greatly respect. Let me start with you, Brent. Polls out today show a lot of interesting news. Again, I have doubts about all the polls. However, it shows, a Bloomberg poll shows that Trump is up 2 in Florida. Another poll, Remington poll, shows he's up 4 in Ohio and down only 3 in Pennsylvania, and has a significant share of the black vote in Pennsylvania especially. So what do you make of all that?
Well, if anybody wants to take a wager that that's the final result, I'm easy to find. No, I think when you take the totality of polling, I think Hillary's probably ahead nationally by around 6 points, take or give. There are outlier polls that show the opposite. I just think it's a mistake for anybody to overinterpret the polls. I think the election is still undecided. I think Hillary's heavily favored. I haven't seen Donald Trump denounce the polls that show him ahead as fixed, and I wouldn't either. But I think she has a lead. It's more than a little lead. It is not certain. It is not definite. Trump can still win. If I were Hillary, I'd be running all out as though she's 10 points down.
What about it, Jim?
I think the news today was good news for Donald Trump. It shows that the polls are starting to swing in his direction. I think there's some really big news, like you said, Steve, with the black vote in Pennsylvania. There's also a poll in Florida that shows 16% of the black vote is going towards Trump. This is devastating news for Democrats. And also in Ohio, we see that the black vote is down by 10% already compared to 4 years ago, and that the white vote is up. So this is all bad news for Hillary in some very significant swing states.
Brent, let me point something out that Jim had on his website today. It was 36 years ago today, if I'm doing my math right, and I'm probably not, that Gallup poll gave a 7 or 8 point lead to Jimmy Carter over Ronald Reagan. So again, 2 weeks out from the election, or inside of 2 weeks from the general election. And of course, we know what happened in 1980. So again, you've already stated that it's still anybody's race for the most part. But the polls really can, either way, be inaccurate when push comes to shove.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I have written columns using various polls like that to warn Democrats and alert my readers that there have been candidates who have come back from significant margins in polls in the last 2 or 3 weeks. That definitely has happened. Now, if anybody, again, wants to make a little wager on this one, I'm a betting man with a wallet ready to open. But there's no doubt about it. I'm not going to. Anybody that claims victory for Democrats right now is crazy. I don't feel very devastated by these results. Well, I can give you other ones, but our audience may have to take out a calculator to listen to the show. But the fact is, there are polls that go both ways. Most of them show Hillary doing very well. Today's polls are not devastating, but they clearly show it ain't over.
Right. And Jim, another interesting fact to sidetrack here for a second, and I'll get Brent's take after yours. In that Bloomberg poll, a lot of polls in Florida have a very close Senate race. This Bloomberg poll found Marco Rubio up by 10 points. And there are all kinds of reports I've seen about now criticism of the party kind of like deserting Patrick Murphy.
That's not a surprise. And if Marco Rubio is ahead by 10 points, I think there's probably some bad news for Hillary there, too. We all know that there's a hidden Trump vote. And so I think this bodes well for the Republicans and should send shockwaves up the Democrats' spines today.
What about it, Brent? How about the Senate race down there?
Well, my spine is doing fine today. Anyway.
You're in rare form
no,
today. Brent, you're in rare form because you're coming off of a Green Bay Packers victory this past weekend. So you're feeling it. You're feeling it.
Oh, I was considering coming in my appropriate Packer garb today. No, no, the polls in Florida as of last night, which is the last time I looked, showed the race tightening. Rubio was ahead, but by a smaller margin. I didn't see the new poll. It may be right. I think Rubio is clearly the favorite. I suspect that that Murphy is probably somewhere within striking range, but behind. It is true that there are people urging the Democrats to put more money in Florida, and for
Patrick
Murphy running against Rubio, but we'll have to see. But no, there's no doubt that Rubio is ahead. I don't think it's anything like 10 points. I think it's much narrower than that.
Right. Jim, yesterday's revelation, or should I say proof, of something that we've all been talking about, at least you and I and Andy McCarthy, who we had on before, and others, when Barack Obama went out and said he found out about Hillary's using a private server and all that kind of stuff, just when we all learned about it from the media. Just like, if you recall, that's how we found about the IRS and all that other stuff. But now we have the emails from Podesta, Cheryl Mills, as Podesta was transitioning over to the Clinton campaign from Obama. Red flags went up. Obama just said that he just found out about it in the media. But there are emails that she has from him, and it doesn't say state.gov, which is what we've been saying all along.
Right. Once again, it must be good to be a Democrat in this country. You know, when the news media does not cover anything. Barack Obama is the same person who said that you could keep your insurance plan. He said this 33 times before Obamacare was passed. He said that your premiums would go down by $2,500 a year for a typical family. He said that at least 20 times. And now we find out that he was lying about Hillary's emails, too. So, there's a certain perk that goes along with being a Democrat in this country. Barack Obama certainly has been one of the most dishonest politicians I've seen in my lifetime. But thank goodness the media is in his pocket, so most Americans won't even hear about this.
Brent, Cheryl Mills said in the email, we need to clean this up. I mean, it doesn't look good. If not incriminating on its face, it just stinks to high heaven, doesn't it?
Oh, no doubt about it. My advice publicly and privately was to just disclose everything and apologize. There's no question about it. By the way, for anybody in our audience who doesn't want to watch any more time whether Donald Trump and Joe Biden will fight each other outside a bar, you might want to go to polling aggregations on the New York Times, Huffington Post, and 538, the website. They do all of the Senate polls, House polls, and presidential polls. They list all of them and have a percentage or probability based on the data that people could win, which candidate could win presidentially and particularly for the Senate.
Right.
And I think our audience that's interested might find that useful. That's not opinion. That's just the data.
Right.
And it's all in one place on those three places that I just named.
All right,
I'd recommend it.
Let me throw that. You brought up, go to Brent first with this. You brought it up, and I was going to bring it up. Joe Biden, first of all, somebody now is offering, I forget who, $10 million for charity if they have a charity boxing match, Biden and Trump, I guess, after the election. But, Brent, seriously, for the Vice President of the United States to say it once and then double down and say it again, that, he would like, basically, however he said it, he would like to fight. I don't want to debate him. I want to fight the Republican presidential nominee. And then he goes like this with his pounding his fist into his hand yesterday. Today we see some jerk on Hollywood Boulevard breaking with a pickaxe the star on Hollywood Boulevard of Donald Trump. We've seen fire bombings of Republican headquarters. We know what the Democratic operatives who were fired after the Veritas tapes exposed them for saying we bring people to Trump rallies to start trouble and start violence. I mean, isn't there a limit on this? Isn't there a point where this gets very dangerous on the part of the Democrats, fomenting violence?
Well, look. Joe Biden was not fomenting violence. Donald Trump answered him in kind, and we had two 70-year-olds sounding like 10-year-old, both of them. They look like children. If you want to know a charity event, I propose we do a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump boxing match after the election. We'll raise a fortune.
That's hysterical. Jim, though, Donald Trump said yesterday, and I said it last Monday, that if Donald Trump had started this, I'd like to beat up Joe Biden. There would have been hell to pay.
You never hear the end of it. And as far as a boxing match with Hillary Clinton, they'd have to drag her in the ring and drag her out of the ring after it's over. So that's probably not a good idea. But you're right. If Trump would have said this, it would have been headlines, this guy's so violent. And yet this week we find out, actually it was last week through James O'Keefe and Project Veritas,
yep,
that the Democrat operatives
were
they had
to go.
Violence.
They had to go. All right, a lot more coming up on the election and the voting and everything else involved with it. Don't go anywhere.